I love y'all.
Welcome. It's another episode of Raw Love, y'all.
Welcome back to the Raw Love
We here.
Podcast.
Get
We
hype.
back and in the studio this time, baby. How you
Studio
feeling?
status. I'm feeling good, feeling great, baby. I'm just blessed, to be here. It's another day in the life. How you doing? How's your morning been so far?
My morning has been great. I started off, so this morning, as you know, I went to hot yoga, and I got a nice morning with my baby girl before that. So we got all dressed and ready for the day. She's off to kinder and happy as could be
With
to
her
do
new
the
kicks.
Yes, new kicks.
They got the new
And
Nikes.
Indigo is an unlikely one to want to try a new shoe or a new piece of clothing in general. So I was so glad that she was open to wearing these new shoes this morning.
Mom life.
Yes.
Hey, all right. No, she was looking fly in them things for sure. Shout out to Auntie Jaji.
Yeah,
Her
shouts.
coming through with the gifts.
Shouts to the big sis, Auntie Jaji, in the building.
Yeah.
Well, not in
yeah.
the building, but you know.
In the premises,
Yes.
in the vicinity, somewhere in the city. Hey, yeah, my morning been good too. I know you didn't ask, but that's all right.
That was my next question.
I knew it was coming, baby. So no, it was So since we're back in the States, I'm having to find a new barber. I had my homie Aniel back in Costa Rica. Shout out to you. But here I haven't found anyone yet, so I'm sort of sampling like what's the barber kind of, because I had someone before we moved from here way back, and then we're just kind of bouncing around, kind of courting barbers, if you will. So that's the state I'm in now, and I gotta say I got the cut this morning and I was like, yo, what is happening right now? So first spot I went to, so first of all, let me just preface with it's on me because I waited to the very last minute. I didn't book anything, so now I'm getting like walk-in treatment. Which, if you know anything about barbershops, you're on the bottom of the totem pole. If you're a walk-in, you're kind of it's an interesting spot because the barbers, they want to very much earn your business. So you're kind of getting that first. You might be getting that first customer experience that let me just give you like the tip-top tier service so that I can make sure you come back. Or you may get just completely relegated to the bottom of the barrel, which was the case in the first one. Zero acknowledgement when I even walked in the door, just a head nod, and then I took my seat, and there was like three dusty motherfuckers in front of me. I only say that because they needed cuts, I should say. And me too. I was in there looking pretty, And so I waited for about 3 minutes and said, "Nah, I can't do it. I know I got the pod coming up, just 2 hours. I got to find something where I can. There's just too many people here. Low key, like I probably could have got a good cut. It was one of those situations where I could tell them the men in cutting were doing good work, but they hadn't really set up like because they were focused, I would imagine, on the work of the barbering, like the cutting. They weren't focused on the aesthetic or like even the cleanliness in the shop was questionable. So then I found, I won't throw the names out here, but I did find a spot that was able to say, yeah, okay, I do have an opening. You can do a walk-in if you can get here in 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So I boogied over there across town. I get there, and it was kind of like, it was good because they were full. It was like 3 barbers working. They had a line. I peeped the website. I'm like, oh, this looks like a really legitimate spot. The main barber was there present, like the owner of the shop was present. Two second, third chairs, and this is when I knew I was going to need to make a choice because I had spoke to the actual owner of the company, owner of the barbershop on the phone, who said I can get you in if you can be here at 9:30. So I got there at right on 9:30 on the dot. I'm never on time. I was this time.
Pedal
Got
to
there
the metal.
right at 9:30. Pull up, and then he's already cutting someone else. So I'm like, I'm the one who had called in. Can I get next? And he just said, just have a seat. He said, have a seat. That's all he said. So I'm like, okay, I sit down, and then I really want to get in that chair because I know if he owns the shop, he's the best there, most likely.
Right.
And then his person got up, so I started to get up, and then he had an appointment. No, sorry. Before he was still cutting, and then one of the third chair opened up, and the gentleman who was a walk-in who had already been there prior to me was waiting. And so this cat, who was the person ahead of me, got up to walk towards him because the guy was like, yeah, I can get you. And then he turned around and said, nah. He said, the customer said, nah, I'm going to wait for X name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, first red flag.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know anything here. I don't have I'm working with very little information. I just know he wanted the main cat, who I also too wanted.
Right.
So I'm like, dang, all right, well, I'm next.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm,
and I got
mm-hmm.
a time crunch. And I'm lucky I'm even in here because low key, like, quality barbershops, you got to book an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky to get in here. And so I walk on over. Everything's kind of good. The dude's very sloppy, though. His appearance is sloppy.
Mm.
His wellness is sloppy. I have no reason to fat shame unless it's helpful to someone, but this is a very overweight individual to the point where I was getting quite intimate with the barber's belly.
No. Oh, okay.
The barber's belly was
Alrighty
protruding
then.
into my lap while I'm getting cut. Like all up on my arm. By the end, baby, I was like this.
Oh, no.
Not even just hugged. If you can see me, if y'all just listen to the audio, I'm hugging myself,
Oh,
tucked into
no.
the chair because I had to. He was
Oh,
pushing me out of the chair while I'm in it with his belly.
Uh-huh.
Big guy. And then it was like getting really crazy when he did great on the hair. Then when I was like, you know what, go ahead and get the beard too. Just clean up the beard if you will. And
I didn't
this
see
man,
where this is going.
he didn't know what he was doing. You may see it if you do a zoom in. I don't know if you can do a zoom in or not, but it's crooked. Maybe don't do a zoom in.
Okay.
Because they don't.
I
maybe they don't want
just
to.
now
You see
saw
how it's
it.
kind of
Yep.
and
Yeah.
baby, while he was, to his credit, the one thing, and I'm gonna get off of this. The one thing that I will say was a positive was that he pulled out the blade. When they pull the blade out, I know they have a certain skill, the razor blade.
Yeah.
Like with the little handle, the flip out clow.
Yep.
That one
It's a good
was
sign.
very much like, it's how you get detail that you can't get otherwise. So when he was doing that though, this man had fingers, like he had zero like control of what was happening in his hand. He was so locked in on the cut, he wasn't aware that this was putting his finger like on my lip, like here, like
no.
and I'm like,
Oh,
at one point I'm going
no.
like moving my lips away, and then my eye, damn near poked my eye. It was a whole mess. I will not be back.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll make an appointment with the owner of the shop because it seemed like a whole different thing was happening. I was watching the whole scene. I'm always observing my surroundings, and it seemed like he gave 2 whole really great cuts while I was there.
So
anyway, that was
you
that.
did get relegated to that 3rd seat.
I got the 3rd spot. Yeah, I got the bench player who came off the bench.
When you started this story, I really thought you were talking about the owner. No,
it would have been a whole different. It would have been a plug probably. Probably would have been like
because that 3rd seat opened up, and so you didn't really have an option being in a time crunch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that was that. That was that. But hey, hair grows back. The stash will even in eventually. And until then, I'm just gonna keep honing my craft. I really want to learn how to do everything myself, except the hair. I've tried that before. And anyway, off the hair, what's up, baby? What else is going on? I want to do 20 whole minutes on my haircut.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You're
And so I started to tell you a little bit about yoga this morning. So I'm at this new studio that I've never been to, but a few times now in the Midwest here in Michigan. And we had been going to one studio here for quite a long time that I'd gotten pretty familiar with, and always appreciated those classes. The teachers were great, and most of the time I was impressed with the instruction. And I'm someone who likes directives. When I'm in yoga, when I'm in taking a yoga class, I appreciate directives. I appreciate like a teacher. I appreciate being in a class setting. All of that is so valuable for me in my practice. And so I was highly impressed with the studio I was at here before in Michigan.
Prior to moving to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this new studio is it's nice too. And
You gonna shout them out or not?
what do you think? Should I? I feel like
Intentional
yoga, yes, but let me get in a few more classes too, because they have so many teachers. They have a ton of teachers. That's one thing I realized, is that they have more teachers than the previous studio. So I feel like I need to get a real feel for more of the teachers before I can shout it out. I will say I'll shout out the 80-minute class though. I love a long class. If you're into yoga and and you really love a long class,
Yeah.
they do have an 80-minute class, which I did this morning.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not
I did
for the
one
faint
of
of
those
heart.
yesterday.
That was
trying.
It will take you down, but you will be feeling taken down in the best way.
No,
and
I
those
remember.
endorphins will hit, and you'll be
Yeah.
ready for that good protein shake afterward. So
Oh,
yes,
glorious. Good living.
yes,
Good living.
good living.
Like the late and great Bernie Mac used to say, good living, y'all.
All right, baby.
so
Well, let's jump
okay.
right into the topics.
Okay.
You
all
ready?
right, yeah. Stay
Okay.
ready, baby. What's what we got? What's on the docket?
All right. So our first thing is we want to talk about family dynamics, and I see here that we want to address some things like, so Amani and I have multiple siblings. We are people from families with siblings. We know that there's a different experience for people who are only children. So I think this is something to really emphasize because we have a child who's an only child.
Right.
So we're beginning to see like, oh, this is actually a really different experience for someone who doesn't have siblings.
Tis quite different.
Whew.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, they live a different life.
And we always knew that. Like growing up, whenever I had a friend or homie that was the only child, I was always like, you're kind of a weirdo.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but I love weird. I'm weird.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be weird, but you know, I didn't know what was baked into that life. You know, sort of archetype, if you will, the only child template that people are born into is. It's a rocky road. It's just so different. It's just so different than having siblings.
It's different, and I think they don't have anyone that they're looking up to or anyone that's looking up to them.
Right.
So they're completely their own individual. They are setting their own standards and their own opinions, and
Right.
they're formulating how they think about things and do things very much on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have this, and we're 5 years into what that looks like. So there's a lot more that we're going to see and learn and
Right.
experience through Indigo's experience. But yeah, they really have it's a very individualistic experience in a lot of ways. And yes, only children can have cousins and friends and
Right.
other
Totally
people
different.
in their lives.
Totally
but
different than than siblings who are helping to shape you and you're forming your identity based off what big sis is like. You know, little bro is like influenced by you, and then as time goes on, you sort of become this cohesive unit. There's like its own entity of the sibling sort of connection and its own thing, and you don't have that relationship with anyone else in the world. No one else can really step into that sibling place. And it's like it's something that's really, it's been heavy on my heart that she doesn't have a sibling. We've thought about all sorts of different iterations of how we could, aside from actually having another child, we thought about ways we can help, sort of give her a semblance of a pseudo sibling of some sort. And I don't think we have to try too hard because her specific personality and temperament, it really works well as an only child because she is so, sure of herself. Her identity is so formed. And I wonder, like, is that partly because she is a sibling?
Yeah.
Like, what came first? You know
Chicken
what I
or
mean?
the egg there. Yeah, that's a good question. And I guess we don't really know, but there could be so many factors that are affecting that, like where that self-assuredness comes from.
And it's like she won't be able to relate to people the same way that people who come from families with siblings will be able to relate to one another. In a way, there's just going to be a blind spot there for what that lived experience is like, which is okay because then she can learn from other people and maybe like I have 9 altogether in my family. 8 siblings, 9 of us total. One mystery child included in that 9.
Angel, right?
Angel, and then my dad had 4 different baby moms, 3 that I know, and then 1 mystery, and then 1 and maybe more mystery. I don't know.
And I have a question. I never really knew, like, how did you learn about Angel, and how do you know that's his name?
I know. My dad told me very basic information, and I just know that I think he's a Mexican. He's Mexican nationality, obviously Mexican black, and then from what it's shrouded in mystery. Like my dad, I didn't. As you know, my dad, rest in peace and power. I didn't get to know him much as an adult at all, and so when he would tell me. The couple times I was able to talk to him about this child, which is, I guess, an adult now, I just learned his name, that his mom was a celebrity in Mexico, of some sort, and that's why. I guess that was the reason he pointed to as far as why he couldn't divulge more information about my own fucking brother.
Right.
It is what it is, but he basically was worried about like potential kidnappers. He didn't want to share information based off of the child's safety, is what he said. So I wish I could give you more. I wish I knew more. Maybe one day I'll meet this child, this person that I just know is a male named Angel, somewhere in between my siblings, before. So three. So I have an older sister. The oldest firstborn was an only child. The second one, only child, and then 6, same mom, same dad. That I'm a part of that unit. And then Angel is somewhere in the mix. This is the sad part of us 6. Yeah. So I think I don't know where he falls, but maybe that's part of why my dad didn't want to tell too much information. He wanted to bust himself out. I don't know. It's a sad story in a way, but I was mainly just getting to the fact that like my siblings were like, and remain a huge part of my identity. They are largely just a big point of like joy in my life. You know what I mean? Like they fill my life so incredibly much, and I love having siblings, and so it was always just sad for me that Indigo will not have that. But I think what we wanted to sort of start to talk about is like the order of siblings and how that informs someone's life. You know what I mean? Because you have 3, you know, and
3 total.
Very different lives. Each of you have lived very different personalities, and obviously there's shared experience, but there's like common themes and things that each person, that people from the same order will run into, and the personality traits and qualities and things that people can all, like, it really matters. It really matters, the order in which you exist in your family, in the siblings. And so for you, tell a little bit more about, like, so you're in the middle, right?
Yeah. And I will just say, just as a caveat to what you said, dope mezcla between, for Angel. What a dope mix, you know, black and Mexican, you know.
True.
He's probably, you know, living a very interesting life. I feel like mixing African American culture and Mexican. I don't know if he's Mexican American. You don't know, or if
I think he's from, like, maybe he's here now.
Yeah,
because no, I don't know if he would have automatically had citizenship or not based off my pops. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, hopefully he's doing well, and you know. Maybe he even has some kids of his own. I got some nieces and nephews. Maybe we'll do a reunion one day. I'm holding space to meet this mystery man.
So I do fall in the middle in the birth order of my siblings. I have an older sister and a younger sister, and I'm in the middle. And I think there's also something really interesting about being a group of 3 sisters. And I also think that the size of 3 versus like a 6 or a 4 is really interesting.
It is. That matters too.
Because and I think the years between each of our births is significant too.
Truly.
And the reason I'll say that is because I've always thought, like, my oldest sister, she's 4 years older than me. And then my younger sister is less than a year and a half younger than me.
That's a big gap. 4 years is a pretty lengthy gap.
It's pretty lengthy.
And then a year and a half is virtually no gap.
Yeah, you know, so just naturally, like by design, my younger sister and I are really close, and we grew up just with each other, doing everything together, like just living parallel lives, very much so. And my older sister, I felt like she was kind of on an island because she was not significantly older, but older enough than me that we didn't have the same, like, we weren't experiencing the same generational things at the same time. We weren't, like, she would be in elementary school when I was still at home, and then in daycare.
Right.
So, like, she was experiencing these things in enough time earlier than me that there were certain things that we just couldn't share in terms of our life experience. Whereas my younger sister, Cassie, and I, we did everything together, and generationally we're experiencing the same things as well, even though technically she falls into Gen Z and I'm one of the younger millennials. So so I'm 95, she's 97.
Y'all a year and a half apart. You're basically the same generation.
Essentially
what I
the
mean?
same, but there are certain things where now I feel like as we've gotten older, there's certain things that she relates more to Gen
Identifies
Z
with, okay.
than the millennial camp, and it's for me too. Actually,
see
there are
it.
certain things that I relate more to
Yeah.
Gen Z because I'm right there,
Interesting.
right on the cusp of millennial
Right,
and Gen
it's
Z.
kind of like the cusp of your horoscope in a way.
Exactly,
So
I'm
there's
so
going to be some
cuspy.
things that
So cuspy.
that you identify with and you hold as true to yourself. But you're a little bit more little more traditional, slightly more like, yeah, you have kind of traditional values in a way. Cass is kind of a she's wavy and flowy, way more flowy.
And I was that way too. I was a lot more wavy and flowy before getting pregnant.
True.
That was very much I was more free spirited, more wavy and flowy. And even now, it's still there. It's just more, I guess, tampered down in some ways, but it still exists. I think I'm still more on the risk taking side of things in terms of like moving, traveling, like just doing things that are a little unconventional. That's more my speed.
That's a whole nother topic to get into. Is just the differences of generation and how it starts to get a little bit frightening when you see what the kids are on nowadays. And then it's also like a little bit jarring when you realize that you're that old head now who sees a distinction between what are these kids on now? Like, why are they're going to ruin the world? And you know what I mean? And then you just are like beholden so strongly to the shit that you feel is what you grew up in, the way that
you relate to that topic a little more than me.
I mean,
I will say
I'm way older than you.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'll say I can't. I don't know why I'm sitting over here nodding my head like I agree because I'm not in that right now.
So bask in the youth, but you will get there eventually, and you start to really question what these kids are on, and you start to lose touch with the music. The slang's gone. I'm still using 2004 slang, like it's new. I'm still, everything's tight to me. It's like, I'm not gonna date myself, but I wouldn't even begin to know what the kids are saying nowadays. I will say, I look forward to Indigo. She's already a trendsetter, but she definitely will loop us into the slang.
Shout out Sigma Boy.
Oh Jesus!
Indigo already is putting us onto the slang. Like that is apparently Sigma is something. Okay, I am dating myself too because I really don't know what that really means.
I don't even know what it means. It seems like some Russian propaganda to me, but I don't know.
It likely is.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
But anyway,
we're
5-year-old is already putting us on.
We're getting a little in the weeds. Okay, so yeah, generational things, man. That's interesting, and it really, the age gaps make such a big difference because it's like, but they even out as time goes on. Like as you get older, though my baby sister TT is 10 years younger than my older sister Kriya, they're like basically, I mean, there's still differences, but that you start to be able to learn from your younger siblings and get guidance from them the same way you would always give it to them. And as you get older, just the time sort of operates differently, and it starts to matter a little bit less in an interesting way, But yeah, so would you say that? Oh man, I always just feel like my heart kind of goes out for Jody, your oldest sister, because she was on that island and she was like the oldest. This is the thing, we have to just. It's a public service announcement. Mad props to all the oldest trailblazers out there.
The oldest children are the trailblazers. And I will say, though, that, like, one thing that should be considered in the 3 group that I didn't mention is you have there's only one oldest and one youngest. Whereas, like, with the 6, I feel like with you and Kriya, your older sister,
right,
there's like a 2 oldest. Like you're clearly like you 2 are the oldest. It's not like a single.
She got the brunt of it.
The brunt of it, but you got the brunt of it in the male form.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have 2 different experiences when you're thinking about one female, one male.
It's
but
crazy symmetry in my family. Crazy symmetry because it's 2 boy girl, then boy. After I have 2 younger brothers and then 2 younger sisters. 6 of us, 3 boys, 3 girls, and it really did come into 2 packs. Me, Cree, Muhammad Isa, Mumtaz, Titi. And so it was literally like we all had that ride or die homie, but we also had we each have our own relationship that's totally independent of the group, but then we all are kind of a cohesive unit. And then we have like our main, and it's sad because like I've always felt like, dang, I wanted to be there more for my brother. But he too, and he and I too have a big gap. It's the largest gap at 3.5 years, kind of like you and Jaji. So you're older.
That's Jaji is what our daughter calls my oldest sister.
Yeah, so she goes by a few different names. Also, Josh. She got all kind of AKAs in this bitch. so yeah, that was like something that I had to, as an adult, really contend with. Like, dang, my brother really needs me more than I was able to show up for him. You know,
Which brother?
Muhammad. And so I've made a conscious effort. I had made it. You know, there's a whole nother history that maybe we'll talk about, you know, in a future pod, about the fallout that's since been, we've been rebuilding our relationship. But as you, and maybe it's, I don't know, maybe there's another kind of important thing that I do think siblings need to do that can take a page out of the book of only children, which is, if you are super tight with your siblings, it's an incredible gift. There's nothing like it. You should absolutely foster and nurture and protect those relationships, but you also have to venture out on your own at some point and learn who you are as an individual, because you are your own soul and you have your whole life to live. And if you never really take the time to learn who you are as an individual, independent of those influences, then you may be missing out on some things. And I think that's the silver lining in this like 5-6 year you know, rupture between my brother and all of us siblings. We all, so anyway, to not get into that whole wormhole, that hopefully I can, you know, maybe have my brother on the pod and we can really chop it up about that whole instance, because it's a thing that when I talk to people or just around the world, and typically I'll say mainly white people, I don't want to generalize, but from my experience, mainly white, they have like these weird, really, I've sensed there's a normalization of estranged siblings.
Yeah.
And you don't know, I'm just like, no, I don't even mess with my brother. I never would have said that for myself.
Right.
I never do say that. I never would say that.
Yeah.
But I've heard that from folks, and I've heard like that kind of sentiment of, no, we just not, I just didn't really know him that well. We don't really fuck with each other. And I'm just like, huh?
Yeah, I think that's that rugged like individualism that they buy right into in terms of like being white in the U.S. And maybe this is a European thing too, but I feel like white Americans, like they're about that. They're bought into that idea, like the non-communal, non-village, being a part of a tribe. That's okay with them. You know, they're into that. So it's more comfortable. I mean, just at large. I don't.
Damn.
You know.
No. I mean, they absolutely. I'm laughing, but that's real. That's totally true. Broadly speaking, and there of course are exceptions to that, and we all can do better, but they could do a lot better.
They sure could. But off them.
So
And yeah, another thing, just to kind of get back into the birth order thing, there was a TikTok I was telling Amani about the other day that I totally related to as a middle child, that Amani just he didn't understand. Like I showed it to him, like laughing and like totally just relating, and he's like,
I'm just like this.
What?
What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening?
What's this about?
And it just showed the significance of birth order and how you really experience it so differently depending on where you fall. And so just to kind of give a little backstory on that TikTok, essentially this woman is coming home. She's an adult now. She's coming home to visit her parents, and she'd called them and messaged them and said she was coming home this weekend. It kind of made it seem like she didn't get any response from the parents to begin with, but still decided
just popped up anyway.
Just decided to show up thinking, oh yeah, my parents would be here.
It's mom and dad.
Mom and dad, you know. She gets there, walking around the house, nobody's home. She's calling for her mom and dad, saying, I'm here. No one's there. And then she calls them. She does get a pickup. So that was an unusual one. I'm like, oh, they answered. But they did. And it turns out they were on vacation. And to me, that was just hilarious, because it's being a middle child, and I'm sure other middle children can relate to this. You are kind of just lost in the sauce, and you're, for lack of a better term, your like significance in terms of like your like the nuances of who you are kind of just thrown in there with the group. The first and the last, that's the one thing I will say about the first and the last, is you have these significant places, I think, in terms of your parents, like in their heart space. Like it's really, it's meaningful for them, the first child and the last child. And I will say, in your birth order, it seems like the first two and the last two hold a lot of significance. And for middle children, it's like you kind of have to, another thing, going back to that TikTok, she was like, the woman, when she found out her parents were on vacation, they were like, oh, this is just like my graduation where you all didn't show up. And it was
ruthless.
I mean, that's what it's like. It's just like, I think for parents to think of the milestones in their middle children's lives as significant is kind of difficult, because they have the first one who is like, oh, this is the first time they're doing everything, the novelty. Right. And then the last one, it's like, oh, this is the finale. Yeah, this is the last time I'm going to see this.
I'm never going to,
Yeah, I'm never going to see this again.
Yeah.
But the middle is just like, oh, this again. And like, it's just not as, and not even to be like, you don't have to be empathetic or like feel pity about it. Cause for me, I kind of take it comedically in a way. I totally see the comedy in it, because it's true. It's like, it's hard and I see that now as a parent, even having an only child. Like, I'm just imagining having 2, 3, 4, 5, like, there's going to come a point where some of those like milestones in the individual child's life are super significant for them, that the parent just may not have the time and space to give that much energy to. And if you're not in one of those significant places, that first and last place, it's like, okay, this is happening again. They're used to it. To spend that extra energy, putting effort towards showing up and being there, it could be hard, I could imagine.
I was trying to express empathy, but it was showing up as like pseudo empathy, because, and now I did. First of all, let me just clarify. Like, I've heard something that before that really made sense to me, which was like, the hardest thing someone's dealing with is the hardest thing they're dealing with. So to that, I know that sounds kind of confusing, but like everything's in perspective. So like what you deal with can never really be compared to what someone else deals with, because you don't know what they're dealing with. You only know what you're dealing with. And your hardest thing is the hardest thing you've ever dealt with. You have nothing to actually experientially compare it to. And so that makes it difficult for me I can sense it. I feel you. Like I know that matters to you. And then you also have a comedic side of it, because you turned out incredible. You know what I mean? It worked out for you and continues to work out for you, because all of these dynamics, they stay at play all the way to the end. And so for someone who was grouped into the older kind of trailblazing sibling camp, I can't even, if I really want to talk about, I can't even begin to have empathy, because that stuff you just described is light work. But those are like problems I wish I had.
I think you're able to say that because you are like the golden child in so many ways. Son. So everything you do is like, wow, like, oh, Amani, he's doing yes. Literally, like I think that's your experience. Like, you're so used to being seen.
For real?
You're used to being
I probably
seen.
have a blind spot for that.
Yes.
I'm sure I do. I can't even really hold
you're recognized. Like, that's just normal for you. The norm for you
at least
is
to
be
mom.
Recognized.
With my mom, right? Because, first son, I think the same way. And Kriya, my older sister, unfortunately, she wasn't even my dad's first daughter. But he definitely had a whole different relationship with her than me. When we were coming up,
like, that was his golden
That's
child.
his goal. So it was only,
and
you want it from your pops. Like, if you're a man, you really want your father to like have that same halo effect for you. But he had it for my younger brother, who for whatever reason was like his guy. You know what I mean? So there's all these different dynamics with my family that play into that. But the main thing that I'm saying is, like, I know from seeing Kriya, I know from seeing your older sister, and I just know from broad, kind of the general theme of the oldest child is they're the experiment. They're the one, and we talked about this many times before, that the parents are learning on, and so their whole life their whole childhood is entirely different than the last, especially in the span of 10 years, where my mom was getting better and better and parenting all the way through, where the youngest one literally had an entirely different world than me and Cree in the old, and it just got consistently easier. She had way more opportunities, way more examples. And then the middle child hold a responsibility that's like, okay, am I gonna just continue the path of the trailblazer and start, following what they're doing, or am I gonna do my own version of that and trailblaze kind of a middle path, which usually, and we looked at statistics on this some time ago, like last year or something, with some other thing we saw online that says like the most millionaires, like I forgot exactly how they termed this statistic, but it was around the fact that millionaires are disproportionately middle children.
I need an applause on that one right here.
Ooh, let me give it to him.
This is a middle
Yo,
child.
yo.
Right
Shout out to the
here.
middles. Shout out to the middles.
Yes, we need that shouts
that
going
peanut butter
out.
and jelly in
Because
between the
yes,
bread.
we're not the ones who are seen or recognized for those milestones,
just-
but we're doing them. We are
just
doing
getting
them.
work done.
We're
just silently chipping away, right?
We had that farmer mentality. We are doing the work. We're hitting those milestones.
Zero recognition.
Just
No one's even
No one notices. No one sees.
That's not right. I'm gonna take. This is not pseudo. This is real. That's messed up.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah, that was still pseudo, but okay. All right. I think we got into that one, baby.
Let's continue on. What else we talking about?
Yeah, so I think we wanted to get a little bit more into the reverse culture shock that we experienced. I'd love to hear just so you all know we're back in the States now. We are in the Midwest. And tell me a little bit about what that's been like for you since we've returned. Have you felt like there's been this significant reverse culture shock experience that you've had coming back? Has there been certain adjustments or certain things that you can point to that feel significant?
I threw that on the docket without putting too much deeper thought into it, just knowing that the name, that term itself was interesting to me, that is a thing that people have coined, reverse culture shock. And there's so many ways that I've experienced that coming back here. And I think, we've talked about a little bit before, but I'd say probably the biggest one was, aside from all the racial things, like we got into that in the last podcast. If y'all didn't hear the conversation, check out episode number three for that one. And I'll say, though, the thing that's coming to my mind now is around community, like the ability to, so as we get older, especially if we're in a profession or maybe we have like a corporate job or something, from my experience it would be very difficult to make new friends, build community. People just get siloed in these, especially in Western culture, we get siloed in these sort of like loops where we're going the same places every day. We see the same people at work, and there's very little opportunity unless we really take big effort to meet new people and build new relationships. And oftentimes the people you fucked with when you were in high school or like when you were even in college, maybe those people have changed, you've grown apart. And for me, at least, like all my homies, I don't really even keep up with most of them now, sadly. And so it's kind of messed up that I am just going to hold things down for a minute because I understand my baby and co-host is taking a quick B-room break and bathroom break. So I'm going to go ahead and give you all a little monologue, I guess, a little mini monologue. And so as far as building community goes, when I'm in the U.S., I feel like the reverse culture shock aspect comes in. Now I'm better at it. Now I'm better at making new friends and better at building community after being in a country where it was so much more accessible. And so when we touched down in Costa Rica, in San Jose, immediately our neighbors like wanted to get to know us. And we were just in an Airbnb for a month over there. And I remember we didn't even barely speak Espanol. We were just trying to learn it, and they didn't speak hardly a lick of English. Yet they still were like waving and trying to engage and, really making concerted efforts to know us. And that was the general feel was just like, no, we're here. Like, we don't need to rush past each other. We can actually take, a moment to honor that this is a human being in front of me, and I can be interested and give to them my attention for whatever it may be, whatever amount of time feels right. And so that was in San Jose, an initial automatic, like, And San Jose, if you all are at all familiar with Costa Rica, is like the busiest city in the country, and there's actually way more Western influence in that city than anywhere else. At least from the way that people are moving and trying to really get it out the mud and aspire to continuously improve and grow, and like materialism and like aspirational living to improve someone's situation are really, really common in San Jose. Whereas a lot of the other areas in the country are more laid back and like really adopt this idea of pura vida, where things are slower and we don't need to, to climb a mountain every day. We can just sort of just chill and, do what we need to do. And the focus is not so much on enhancing and growing as much as just relaxing and living and slowing down. But so while that's kind of a general theme in many of the more touristy cities in the country, in San Jose, that's not the theme yet. They still manage to value one another and value one another's presence and take the time to ingratiate themselves to the people around them. And so then we moved to Puerto Viejo on the Caribbean side, and golly, it's like I couldn't help but build community. If you step outside, you're just met with people who are in love with life and are in love with learning about life, and the people around them matter to them. And I think another big part of it, because this isn't a character accusation as much as it is like a societal issue, because in society, we can set things up in a way that give people time to care about other people. Here in the U.S., it's like people got so much they got to get done. It's barely enough time to care for yourself over here, much less be concerned about someone else's situation. And so that becomes very contagious, and that sort of is also a survival thing. So it's interesting because it's like more money, way more money is available in circulation over here, yet that doesn't equate to more connection in any way. It's actually quite the opposite. So over there, you have, of course, a disparity between the haves and have-nots. I think that seems to exist everywhere from my travels. Yet some places still seem to value, the ability to be connected. And it's like, even if the emphasis is still on surviving to a degree, like there's still a base level of needs that everyone's going to have everywhere. Over there, they prioritize, they have different priorities. And I think that it also, to shoot the U.S. a little bit of bail, is like, this has been systematized to where it's been very intentional. And I learned this through Maleka's work on her PhD in social welfare, where the social welfare system was set up so that it could be there could be a continuous need for people to be in need. And so literally, like, they want to trap people with social welfare in a way, so that you get stuck needing something, so that now you can't actually expand your horizons and break out of that. And you're stuck in survival, and you're pieced out just enough to stay exactly where you are or fall down. Mm-hmm. You won't get up unless you have Herculean efforts and support and like real intentionality around blowing out of that circumstance. And it's so few that do it, and it's advertised as just very possible and accessible in the U.S., this whole American dream bullshit. And so, yeah, it works for some people. Some people get out, but the vast majority do not, will never not. And it was designed for them to never get out. And whereas, so I took the folks on a whole whirlwind tangent while you were gone. And somehow we ended up there. I'm not quite sure how. But, the main thing, though, is I think what I was getting to was like the difference between, to talk about the reverse culture shock, the difference between my ability to build community, our ability, and anyone's ability to build community in countries where they value connection and their neighbors and like just a slower pace of life. They value, their values are more around the now as opposed to aspirational. And there's survival that's needed in both, right? Both places have people in survival. Here, it's actually really manufactured. There, it's just the state of things in a way. And it probably is manufactured there, too, to a degree.
Yeah, there probably is.
But it's not as far along. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you go back in 50 years, almost like a time warp back. And you see where they're going if they keep the road, keep the influence being America, Western world. Let's keep growing at a breakneck pace. Anyway, so all that to say, when I came back here after having learned how to build community and how to relax into a potential new friend opportunity, where I can just pause whatever it is that I think is so important about my day and say, no, this is a human being in front of me. Let's talk together now. Let me learn a little bit more about you. And so due to all of these, there's a whole host of reasons why it's easier to build community in Costa Rica than here. But having learned that there, I'm now more aware of the importance of it. And I actually think I have a better ability to do it here now. Yeah. So that's one thing about reverse culture shock.
That's such a great, thanks for sharing that, because it made me think about an experience I had where there was a coffee shop that I really liked to visit in Costa Rica. And one of the people that worked there one day, this was before we'd been there for too long, maybe a couple months. And she asked me one day if I was American, and I'd never actually talked to her at all, really. I'd seen her there a few times, and I almost wondered if she were European just because she had white skin, but she was not. She was actually she was Costa Rican. She was a tico. And she had colored eyes, so I was like, okay, she's probably European expat. But I had never talked to her. I'd only seen her a few times. She'd seen me there, and it just randomly asked me out of nowhere, no other question, no hello, no goodbye, but she said, "Are you American?" And
I can sense it on us.
Oh yeah.
Without even us talking.
Without talking, I don't have white skin. I don't have white people hair. But she knew. And I immediately, my first thought went to my pace, because I'm always, at that point at least, always moving fast. Like when I go somewhere, fast, walking fast, my stride is fast, like for no particular reason. But I think that's so instilled when you're in the U.S. and you have things that you need to do literally back to back. There isn't a lot of time for like a slow, intentional, maybe meditative walk, or just your pace being slower. I don't even think necessarily that ticos or local people in Puerto Viejo are like, I'm in a meditation right now, but they're just, they're moving slower. There isn't this hurried nature to do anything. And people are hardworking people. So I'm not, I don't want to make have us under the assumption that people are not working extremely hard, because people value their work very much in Costa Rica. And I will say, I was seeing that was with more love and intention than I'd seen here in the U.S. in terms of work and work ethic. Just how I saw, even just thinking about the service people that I interacted with regularly, so much more intention. Even though the pace was slower, the intention was so much higher. And there was like, and this is why I say the work ethic and the amount of work seemed a lot higher, actually. And it seemed very valued. But I think in the U.S., there's this idea that you have to be doing things at like the speed of light. And I took that with me to Costa Rica. And
we pride ourselves in that, don't we?
Right. We do, for this really odd, strange reason, because it's really not good for your health. It's not good for your mind to be constantly moving at a pace like that.
Right.
But so whenever I had gone to that coffee shop, I was in and out. I wasn't like trying to spend time. I wasn't seated, just talking to the baristas, which was a common thing. I would see a lot of local people that would just sit there and talk and catch up, and like people are taking their time to just connect as human beings, and that very much wasn't in my, I guess, coffee culture experience from the U.S. So I just went at the same pace that I always did, which was in and out, hellos and thank yous, and using the manners, but not spending time to just sit there and connect with another person. And so then coming back here, I just think that it's so many interesting things to think about in terms of like that having changed for me there. I did try to at times reduce the pace at which I was walking. And that felt like that was effortful for me to do, like, I had to cognitively get myself in the space of, I'm going to slow myself down right now. And
it feels uncomfortable almost. It actually feels a little bit uncomfortable, especially with the walking, because I've prided myself in being a fast walker. I got places to be. I got things to do. I'm zooming. I'm getting zippy. And yeah, I think there's times where that's important though, because if you are actually working, so it's like, it's so my thoughts are so dichotomous with this, because I really see value in both in a way. But I think the best path is definitely to just like incorporate some of each one.
Yeah.
Because if you're just pura vida all day long and all you're doing is like, I mean, you know, just flowing and just, oh, where's the day going to take me? And, you know, stopping at every person and, you know, telling them, hearing them out. And like, nothing's happening. No. Nothing's getting done. But you can't lose sight of that sentiment, though. And it's definitely a middle ground, like everything in life, that has to be struck there. But here, the pendulum has swung way too far one way. There, maybe it's like a little bit too far the other way, depending on where you are in the country. But I would prefer that. Because I can always speed up. Yeah. You know, if I need to. After I remember how to slow down, I can always speed back up.
Exactly.
It's harder to slow down, especially, and it takes a much greater, like, to your point, a huge toll on the body to be in sympathetic nervous system activation, dominance all the time is really, really dangerous.
It wreaks havoc on your central nervous system.
It's dangerous.
It is, and it's it can put you into a state of chronic stress, which is really it's really harmful.
Which is the state of America.
Yeah.
The U.S., I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, state of the United States is chronic stress for the most part. Yeah. But not for us. I don't associate with that as far as that part of this country. You know what I mean? I am part of, you know, the growing group of people who are more interested in being present in this life. In this body, I'm in this body once. Let me be present. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's see what's happening next here. I think we can discuss a couple things. Okay, baby, this is gonna be a little bit of a turn for us because we haven't really. So we call the pot raw love, right? Yeah. Yet we got robbed by a little bit of, like, you know, static between us in the past. We've gotten like vanilla raw. Vanilla, like with a little sprinkle of cinnamon, maybe raw so far. Yeah. But we have yet to give the people like a little understanding, like behind the curtains, I was gonna say. But I wanted to think of something more sexy to say right there. But I just want to bring people into a little bit more the sensuality of us. You know what I mean? Like, just let people know that you know, we are parents, so we still have to, like, find time for things, you know what I mean? And we're learning how to navigate, you know, our intimate relationship as parents. It's an ongoing thing. Ongoing journey. But when we pop it, we motherfucking pop it. And we have levels of pleasure we can bring one another to that are quite transcendental, I would venture to say. And if nothing else, just deeply nourishing and fulfilling. And so while we take this rather kind of turn in the conversation.
Right into it, baby. Got right into that.
Get into the juicy, lovely space with me, baby. So I wanted to talk about this idea of turn-on mapping, which I think, you know, I encourage all of our listeners to, or our listener, singular if it's, let me give us some credit. We're growing, is to just explore your own, you know, turn-on mapping. And what that is basically sharing what truly turns you on emotionally, mentally, physically. And I think it's important for folks to talk about this with, you know, their partners, their wives, whoever it is in your life that you're in an intimate space with. Talk about it, because, you know, for me in my journey, it's been a lot of not really feeling enough self-love to communicate to myself what it is I want and need. And so through my journey of, like, really healing things, I met with the question, what does turn me on? What things really do, you know, like what are the things that I enjoy. I've always been sort of a giver in that space, you know, and so I think I would say, because we also kind of gotta keep it like where we don't get taken down from any stations, you know. Obviously, we're not gonna get, you know, X-rated in here, but what we can do is talk about just, number one, the importance of, like, I think it's like this fine line you have to walk when you're with someone, where you want to know what they like. You also don't want to have to ask all the time, because that kind of can pull you out of it, out of that moment. And you also want to have a sense of like presence, so that you can just intuit what it is. But that is a slippery slope, because if you're just only doing that, you may or may not be actually accurate in your assumptions, and then your intuition may at times be off. And
especially in long-term relationships where you're having so many changes in terms of like who you could be meeting a new individual from one year to the next. At least I hope that your person is changing, or that you're changing as the years go on. We don't stay static. Things change. Completely. And so I think it's nice to have that check-in and see like what has changed about this person mentally, physically, erotically, in terms of turn-ons. And especially, I think, shout out to the mothers, we welcome in a whole new body after we get pregnant and bear children. We literally, we are blessed with an entire new temple that we get to learn and experience. Yes. And so to invite our partner into experiencing that with us is such a wonderful opportunity for them to get to know what that's like for you after things have changed, and not just changed. We are really welcoming in an entire new physical body. Like when you give birth, you will have a new body, and whether that changes, like whether you can see that on the outside, you may not display it so much. Like maybe you have that snap back, or maybe you maybe things change drastically in terms of your how you look physically. However, there's just this internal change that also happens. So it's such an invitation to, if you'd like to explore that with your partner or with whoever you're engaging with physically.
It's so necessary.
It's necessary too.
For moms and dads, you have to do that.
You have to, because there's just so much that if you have whoever your partner is, they don't know that new you yet. They actually don't know that person. Right. So if you're not talking about what has changed and who you are now and what differences are there, they have to try to figure that out, and that can be confusing to figure that out. And I imagine, Amani, there were ways that you likely did have to figure out some things about me that weren't necessarily shared right away, and maybe still are. Still are, and it's such a beautiful opportunity, because if you can take the time and sort of frame, you know, this entire new, so the relationship changes in so many ways, and you have to really give it its the word's escaping me now, but it has to have a lot of gravity. The importance of what you're saying can't be lost on the individuals in the relationship, because you can look at it like a very challenging thing. There's so many, like the way that you look at this, the couple looks at this, is really going to determine your happiness together, because both of you are going to change entirely. Especially the woman's going to make so many physical and mental changes that the opportunity lies in you sort of can inform that change in a way. If you're curious about it, you can be a part of it, if nothing else. You can be a part of it. And like for people who are mainly like are turned on by giving, you have to. It's a requirement, because part of what you really love, like givers typically are operating from, you know, the enjoy. It's like about them. The gift, you're getting your ego stroked. There's something happening for you that is
it happens because the person's in pleasure. You know what I mean? You're giving them that, but it's filling you up in delivering that pleasure to them.
Yeah.
That's how I am. And so if I no longer, so I need to learn you now. I need to learn what's changed. I need to listen. And so that whole process is really enjoyable and absolutely necessary, because it's like your expectations are so different. You have a whole new sort of like list of priorities. You also now have way more on your mind than ever before. So it's like, as life happens, we really have to like say, okay, what are the ways that we can learn, what it is that physically turns our partners on, but also like understanding that you just have to have a certain amount of time spent together that's not even engaging in the physical, to understand like where the minds have changed and the ways that they change. Like in our relationship, it's like you had this massive change immediately. You started like realizing right away, as soon as the delirium sort of started to fade away, you started realizing that your life was entirely different. For me, and I would assume a lot of dads also have like this, that's striking, and you didn't expect that, and all of a sudden it's this whole new woman in front of you. You're just like, what the?
I've
who are
always
you?
wanted
I'm still
to
the
ask
same.
you about that
I'm still the
time.
same person.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm basically the same. I haven't had this. My whole thing's been external. I've been watching the baby grow. I've been talking to her, but nothing with me has actually physically changed.
Not even, and what about, I really want to know more about that.
I mean, that's it. That's
like
all there is to it. It's me. I'm the same guy.
Person, but
and that became a point of contention between us, because you're looking like, why are you still that person? I'm a whole new person now.
Yeah.
And I felt immediately defensive, like, no, I did change. Like, I you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this, that, or that different.
Yeah.
But nothing really has changed. Like, it takes years and I remember Charlamagne the God talking about this, that when he first had his very first, I think he said, he didn't really even love that child the way that he does now.
Right.
Obviously, that you have to bond. A father has to bond with the baby in a way that may not be a popular opinion, but it's just a bundle.
You have
in
to
a
get
way. It's
to
just
know.
a bundle of. It's like the baby is. You're not connected the same way. I mean, I feel kind of different, because when I did have a moment when Indigo was like a week or two old.
Yeah.
Late at night when I was holding her, I looked at her face, and I saw my face in her face, and I felt like this real merging of like who I am with who she is, and I literally felt like so connected to her in this way that I can't really explain, that never changed. And like it was like a depth. It was like a depth of connection there that has only grown.
Yeah.
But I see what it is. That's probably like 10% of what a mother would feel, maybe way less than even 10%. And so, it's like those were things that were very confusing for me, because I saw such a difference in how you were operating and moving, and I wanted to understand that and even adopt some of it in my own way, but it felt artificial if I were to try to just like invent some new man. Like, it just takes time. But if you're dedicated to it, to growing and evolving as a human, then obviously parenting and becoming a parent is going to give you like a huge opportunity and will mandate and necessitate you doing that growth. And so as it relates to the partnership, it's so important to continuously check in. Does that still turn you on? You know what I mean? Is this still like what you like? And exploring that can be a really fun thing, a very necessary thing.
And I want to, just to kind of caveat off of that, I think what's important, like especially after we had Indigo, is like I'm very much a responsive lover. And that's so
I like
much
how
of
you said
my
that, baby. Can you say that one more time?
A responsive lover. And so I respond to what is presented to me by you, by our experience together, by our day together, by our week together, by there's so much. It's so dynamic because it's coming from all, like, eroticism for me lives in everything outside of sex and outside of the bedroom. It's so sensational. So many senses are tapped in for me that brings me into sensuality, into eroticism. And all of that points to my love language, which is quality time, because I can experience my time with you and feel into those senses and how they feel and what they're doing for me in terms of what's leading to turn on when it does come time to how this culminates in sex or a sexual experience.
Oh, I love that, baby.
So I think a lot of mothers would likely relate to that, the responsiveness, because we are so much, and to be honest, in our masculine, when we are parenting, being a mother is a really masculine role because it takes so much logical, intellectual, mental work that you're doing. You're doing invisible labor for your children, but you're also doing this physical labor. And you're constantly planning, organizing, and thinking about A through Z. And so you're so much in that mental space. So that's why I think, I imagine a lot of moms will relate to this, that there's this responsiveness that comes from seeing some intentionality in terms of how you're existing with your partner, male or female, whoever.
Yeah. Oh, I never knew that. I'm so glad we talked about this, because so responsive lover, so everything matters.
Everything.
It all matters.
It all does.
So nothing's so okay.
And I experienced it. That's why I wanted to talk about the quality time, because I experienced that in time. For some people, it can be faster. I don't want to speak for all moms, because there may be moms that are actually like, no, I did all the labor all day, the physical labor, the invisible labor, but I'm ready to, get
some
right
people
to it.
Are different, right? Everyone's a little different, right? But for you,
me,
you know that for yourself.
Oh yes,
it makes so much sense. I've known that about you, but I never had a term for it, and having the terms very helpful for me. Thank you, because now maybe my approach in the past might have been like, okay, I'm getting some ass today. I'm about to wake up and just show up. I'm gonna show up in all the ways I can today. Little did I know, and then I'll try to give as much quality time as I can today. This, that, and the other today. What happened yesterday or the day before that, or when you were in that luteal cycle and you were really needing that rock.
Shout out to men that know when their women are in their luteal phase.
Y'all better educate yourself.
Educate yourself about the luteal phase. If anything, educate yourself about the menstrual cycle, but particularly get to know that luteal phase.
Yeah, this is elementary at this point. This has to be, it's required knowledge for the whole family unit. We're gonna bring on someone and talk more about that, because shaping the family around the woman's cycle is an incredibly necessary thing that people need to be on. So, and hardly anyone's on that in this culture. So no, I think I'm so grateful to know that you're a responsive lover, and the way you said it has so much depth to it that it just landed for me, and I'm gonna be giving you some things to respond to. Let me just say that. Okay, so let's see here. Before we leave, y'all, we gotta wind it down for today, y'all. We're actually a little bit over time here, and so what I'm gonna do is leave y'all with I did have one off the cuff question, because we want to be consistent with the people. So the off the cuff question before we head out is just a light one. What's something, baby, that you loved to do as a child? That for some reason you just stopped doing, and maybe you would like to pick it up one day when there's, when you can create space for it.
Great question. I think I've done it some as an adult, but dancing, and I danced playfully as a child, and I saw my mom dance in a more structured capacity. She was in a dancer in our church, and
That's
so
right.
I loved watching her dance. And then
praise dancer, right?
Yeah, she was a praise dancer, and I would just playfully dance and just would respond to music and liked just hearing music. And I've done that some as an adult, but I want to do more of that, just more dance. It's I love to be in that space of just allowing my body to experience the rhythm of music. And for
Yes.
you, what's something that you
Oh, you turned
experienced?
it around on me. It's supposed to be for you, baby.
Okay, did you ask
Uh,
it to me last time or no?
I did
N-
not. I
Oh,
did
no, no,
not.
no, no.
I did
Okay,
not.
okay.
But I could give you one if I could think of one. Um, dang, I do a lot of the stuff I did as a kid. I still be
Yeah,
on my
that's
same
great.
stuff,
That's
you know.
great. Yeah.
Um,
What's
I
one
would
of
like
those?
to do. I would like to do more painting.
Mm.
I love to do art as a child, and I have done it as an adult. But
Yeah.
it's something that is very meditative, and especially working with watercolors and how freeing, you can really be creative with. You don't have to like. It's very forgiving. It's a very forgiving medium, watercolor. So I like to paint, and I'm gonna make some time for that more as well.
Beautiful.
And just creative, artist, like physical art. Yeah, so that's something for me. Before we leave, I do have one promotion and one announcement. Um, and the first promotion is for my business partner Shakti and I are actually going to be creating a Reiki certification program that's going to open up for application actually next week. And the dates are October 10th and October 18th. It'll be a virtual Reiki Level 1 certification program where you can come and learn lifelong skills, actually get certified in the first level of Reiki, which is really remembering your self-healing capacity. And so join us. We'll put a link on our socials once that's ready to be registered for. But yes, it's the Radiant Reiki Academy beginning October 10th and 18th. And then I also have a book. It's an adult relaxation book that I'm have for sale. If you can get a zoom in, it's called Portals to Peace. It's on sale for just $19.99. Giving y'all a real steal on Amazon. I don't know if y'all can see here, but it's basically gives you these peaceful prompts along with coloring pages, with Buddha-inspired coloring pages that can really help you just learn how to find your center. It's an easy, very low commitment as far as just taking a little bit of time to relax, de-stress, you know what I mean? And it can be a great tool for connecting to presence as well. So Portals to Peace on Amazon by Amani Gaillard. And I have another one I'm going to save till next time.
All right.
So that's it for now for the announcements.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you and for tuning into the Raw Love Podcast.
It's Raw Love, y'all. Thank you for your presence.
Peace.
It's all about my love, y'all.